I have used the same strategy over and over again every single morning to make over $12,000 last week in only 5 trading days. I have created this strategy myself and I call it the inverse orb entry model. We've actually been green for 19 trading days in a row, and it's because this entry model has presented itself almost every single day. Now, this entry model, this strategy does not work 100% of the time. But in this video, you're going to see how I manage my risk the right way to make sure that our wins outweigh our losses, even if we do end up having a red day. Because at the end of the day, it's not about having a high win rate strategy, it's about making sure that your wins always outweigh your losses. In this video, I'm going to go over each setup that I took last week and show you what was going through my brain during these trades. I am about to teach you how to trade my inverse orb strategy, and it is stupid simple. You just have to have patience, discipline, and the mindset to be able to buy when others are fearful. Enough yapping, let's get into showing you exactly how I made over $12,000 last week and how I haven't lost a single day in the last 19 trading days using my stupid simple trading strategy. And if you do enjoy videos like this and you want to see more, make sure you leave a like on this video, comment some feedback, comment some questions, and make sure you subscribe below. Every trade that I take that you see in this video was traded live inside of my VIP Discord. So if you do want to watch me trade live every single morning, I have a 2-day free trial for you to join the VIP Discord right now in the description. All right, let's get right into the video. We started out the week on Monday on fire, taking a beautiful A+ setup for our inverse orb strategy to the upside. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it, what was going through my head during this trade, and trying to go through each step-by-step move so you can kind of learn from me, maybe write some things down, but use this to your advantage in your next trade. I've already marked my first 15-minute candle high and our first 15-minute candle low, so we have our opening range in place. And if we take a look at our Flowtopia tool, we can see that calls are heavily beating puts in the market. And if you know my inverse orb strategy, you know if we have calls ramping like this while puts are staying stagnant or way below call flow, we are looking for an upside position. Now, a lot of the times, this is why I created the inverse orb strategy, is I see us move to the bottom or the top of the opening range to fake out buyers or sellers, and then typically, regardless if flow is in our direction or not, we do see some type of manipulation there to get out those buyers and sellers at those levels and then continue in a different direction. And on Monday, September 8th, as we saw call flow ramping up while calls were staying stagnant, I was playing the inverse orb a few times. We took an entry here and we took an entry here. Both of these entries were great entries. We also hit the 50% retracement, which means we put our stop loss at break even and took some profits, but we didn't catch the full move from the bottom of the orb to the top, so we didn't really get a full position. But then, as I kept seeing call flow ramp up, I mean, you can see at market open, we're at about 3 to 8 million, and then at the top of the day, we ended up hitting almost 200 million in call flow. Put flow at the highest of the day saw about 23 million. So right now, it's simple. I am looking for us to get back into this opening range and reclaim this opening range and then head higher. But there's something else I want to show you guys that can help your entries and help your confidence behind the trade. You see that SPY is trading below the 15-minute opening range. So technically, if you take an entry here, it would be pretty risky according to our strategy. But if we go over to QQQ, which is just the tech sector, the NASDAQ, we can see that we actually broke out of the opening range, as you can see here. And now we're retesting that 50% retracement level that we have marked on our opening range. So here's what I did. Instead of waiting for SPY to reclaim this opening range here, I said that if we reclaim this opening range on SPY, since we are stronger and have relative strength on QQQ, I'm going to look to take NQ longs off of this 50% retracement level. So at this point, on the next candle I already put into play, you can see we have a perfect bounce off that 50% retracement. So I put my long position there as soon as we reclaimed. My take profit 1 is going to be at the top of this opening range. My take profit 2 is going to be at the high of the day. Now, a lot of people ask me, champ, where do I put my stop loss here? There's a couple options you have. The most risky stop loss is going to be this, because now you make your risk to reward a lot lower at a 1.7. But in this trade specifically, I looked at it and said, hey, I'm going to zoom in here. If we do end up losing this 50% retracement one more time, what are we going to see on SPY? We're going to see SPY reject off of this 15-minute opening range and head lower. So my risk is, hey, champ, I'm going to go ahead and enter now, right? Put my stop loss below this previous low. You could even make it tighter. You could literally go to the low of this. I'm pretty sure we actually had it at the low right under this tweezer bottom here, which makes this a 10.53 risk reward. And at this point, hey, worst case scenario, we push down and stop out, and now SPY is also going to see lower, so we're probably going to get a pretty good stop loss. And guess what? Let's say that SPY ends up coming back after we push down and reclaims and holds, and then QQQ ends up seeing the same thing where we reclaim and hold as well. You you can just wipe the loss away and re-enter again here with a stop loss below that low. Give yourself one more opportunity, one more try, and don't limit yourself just because you just took a loss. The hardest part about trading any type of strategy is being able to take a loss on the chin and say, okay, it's fine. I didn't risk too much. I had a good stop loss. Now we're going to re-enter. That is what all this is about, because no trader is going to be perfect. But if you can take every opportunity that's possible and you can try to win on those opportunities, especially if it matches up with your strategy like this one did here, then it's not only going to bump up your win rate, but it's also going to increase your chances of being profitable over a long period of time, not only in the charts, but also on the mental game. Now, enough yapping. Let's see how this trade played out. Perfect entry, perfect exit. We can go ahead and take a look at SPY as well. You could have taken longs here on ES as soon as he reclaimed the range, just like we did on QQQ or NQ, and you could have had pretty close to the same risk to reward. I guess on here it's actually a lot worse. It's 2.85, but you could have also tightened it up here, paying like a 6.47. But yeah, your QQQ risk to reward was a lot better, and that's why I took QQQ or NQ over SPY or ES. Tuesday's trade was really similar to Monday's. We got a really similar setup. If we go over and take a look at the chart here, you can see that we've marked our 15-minute candle high and we've marked our 15-minute candle low. So we have our opening range in place. And what are we seeing once again? We're seeing a move below the range. And if we look at our Flowtopia tool, we can see we went to the back testing tool and went to September 9th on a Tuesday, which is when this trade was taken. And you can see call flow is still ramping. We have call flow ramping till about 10:20 a.m. Eastern. At 10:20 a.m. Eastern, we saw call flow die down until about 10:45 Eastern. And then we saw a bunch of call flow come in for the rest of the day, up to about 300 million at market close. So at this point, I see that flow is bullish. I see that we're trading below the opening range. So hey, I'm gonna go to the 1 minute time frame here, and if we reclaim this opening range and we see us get back into the low of this orb, I'm gonna be taking a long position and go to the orb high. If we reclaim as well, my stop loss would just be the low that we just created here. So we'll see what the next candle gives us. We entered as soon as that candle got back into the range here. Stop loss below this low. So pretty good risk to reward ratio sitting here at about a 2.92. Next candle hits the 50% retracement here on the opening range. So I am going to move my stop loss to break even, or you can move it right below or right above if you'd like. This is now a risk-free trade, but take a look at this next candle. Look how close we get to getting stopped out. So this one pushes us down. This next one goes straight down here. And you can see that we got so close to stopping out, but hey, I held. I didn't want to get all the way out. I waited for my position to play out, and we can see the next candle. Watch this. This is crazy. We get an instant move to TP, and we got all out there. You can even see in the Discord, I'm looking at it right now, that I did alert it right on that candle, but we ended up getting a massive rejection down. So if you didn't get out fast enough, you probably stopped out. Now, hear me out. I didn't take any more trades because I saw that move, and I also was looking at QQQ at the same time, and you can see this is pretty bearish on QQQ. But if we just take a look, I walked away from the charts. I didn't want to take any more trades and like take a chance of ruining my green streak. But if we look at the next candlesticks, let's look and see what happens here. You can see now that we've gotten back into the opening range. We've reclaimed it on both of these candlesticks here. You could honestly take another long position here because Flowtopia is still saying that we're going with call flow. Put your stop loss, let's just say below the pre-market lows. I think the pre-market lows are here. I believe we do end up going back down a little bit lower and then heading up, but this is still a good entry. This is also another good entry. If you didn't want to enter there, you could have also entered here. You see us reclaim the opening range, and now we're bouncing off of it. Your take profit can still be the high of the opening range on either of these entries here, even though you got pretty close to getting stopped out the first time. Let's see what happens next. Perfect push up to the upside. You could have also taken this trade as well. There's 3 trades I just gave you there, and you could have done the same exact thing on all of them, and it would have worked out perfectly for you. Now, the only reason, again, that I didn't keep trading is because we got in and out. We made good money. We didn't want to keep trying to take a trade, even though we had nasty rejections and price action like we did here. But everything aligns here. We broke below the orb multiple times, fake out to the upside, and you can see call flow is heading up the entire day. So you can see that a lot of this is just straight up manipulation in the market, and that's really what we're trading off of to give us the best risk to reward ratios. Our hope is that when they are buying, we are selling, and whenever they are selling, we are buying. And as in they, I'm talking about the everyday trader that is not profitable, that is chasing moves back and forth. Wednesday had to be my favorite day of the week. The way that I traded, my execution, my patience, my discipline, everything played out so perfectly. And the best part about it, I even took a loss and we still came back and took a huge win and made up for that red on the day. Something that I preach all the time is when you're able to trade this strategy, if you can just handle taking small losses and re-entering, even with the same bias, it's going to help you out a lot more than trying to bag hold positions and it goes in the wrong direction. Now, if we actually go to the replay mode here and go back a couple steps, we can see on this candle here is exactly when I was looking to take a long position. Because if we go to Flowtopia and we go to our back testing tool and we go to Wednesday, September 10th, we can see that call flow once again for the third day in a row was heavily ramping according to the flow platform. And you can look at puts and they weren't doing very well. So again, calls are ramping, puts are staying stagnant. I go look at QQQ, which is this example, and I say, hey, we have a 15-minute opening range high here, 15-minute opening range low here. We just broke below the low, so we're in our 15-minute opening range here and reclaiming it. I took a long position here. As soon as we reclaimed it, take profit was the high of the opening range. Stop loss is going to be below this low here. Let's see what happens next. Instant stop out. Now, I'm on live in front of like 300 to 400 people at this point, and a lot of people would have this same moment and get upset, get frustrated, walk away, not take the trade. But look what I did instead. Even though that we just stopped out of the position that we took right here, I saw us go back below the opening range low and reclaim once again. So I said, hey, if this next candle goes back into the opening range with call flow ramping like it is here, I'm going to take the same trade once again and see how it plays out. As you can see, the next candle gets back into the opening range. I now put my entry as soon as we get back through here. Our stop loss is going to be below this low that we created here outside of the opening range. And our take profit level is going to be the high of the opening range like always. If we press play, we can see what happens here. We have a push to the upside. We have a push to the 50% retracement level. What does this mean? That means we move our stop losses to break even. And at this point, we are just fiddling between this opening range high and low right here in the middle, just bouncing above and below this 50% retracement level. So I decided to say this, look, I'm going to now take half of my position off here and I'm going to trail my stop loss. So we're going to trail our stop loss. I'm going to put a horizontal line here at this low now here. So we have now taken half of our profits at the 50% retracement. And now we're going to keep our take profit level, our trailing stop loss at this low here. Then I see us get back above this 50% retracement level. So I then move my stop loss up even higher to this low that we create here on this green candle. And as you can see, we just continue to chop and we did tap my stop loss there. Ended up getting out here at the 50% retracement. The best part about this day, other than me taking a loss and coming back with a win and ended up being green overall on the day, was that even though the price did not go in our favor after the entire span of the day, we still took a good win because we managed our risk perfectly. And that's one thing about the inverse orb strategy and all my strategies is it's not going to have a huge risk to reward to where you have, all of this risk to the downside and can take losses. I would rather you just get out for a small loss and re-enter. The beauty about futures compared to options, it's a lot easier. It's a click of a button to re-enter. So if you can get in that futures aspect, you can get in here and be okay with taking small losses or just giving yourself a small risk compared to your reward, you're going to be way happier at the end of the day with your profits over a long period of time. Now, Thursday was a lot harder of a day to try to find an entry. I almost felt like I was kind of forcing a trade a little bit, but I'm going to get more into it and tell you why I was okay with taking the trade that I did. And it's because if we take a look at the S&P right here, we can see SPY. We missed the inverse orb setup, guys. At this point, as you can see on the chart, this is exactly where we're at on the day where I'm about to take a trade, and I already missed the inverse orb at open. As you can see here, if you would have taken the inverse orb, because you can take a look, SPY hit the bottom of the opening range. And if we go to Flowtopia and look at the back testing tool and go to Thursday, we can see once again, call flow is leading put flow by a ton. So I would be looking for inverse orb since we are heading to the bottom of the orb. But guess what? The 15-minute close did not happen until this candle. And as you can see, it was an instant skyrocket up. I didn't have enough time to get in. So now I was just waiting patiently for an entry. And if we look at SPY, there's no entry here. We're not going to get back into the range. The only other strategy that I have is the 15-minute W orb strategy, and that's if we come back into the opening range, we take an entry here for more much higher, but that really did not happen. So instead, I went to QQQ or NQ. I actually took the entry on NQ, and I was taking a look at the chart. And I can see that QQQ also inversed orb, but we are seeing a lot more weakness overall because SPY's already went up, what does this move from 654 all the way to 656, while QQQ is kind of just still trading within its opening range. But what do we see here, guys? Not only do we see a 15-minute 50% retracement bounce here, this is the 50% retracement of the high and the low of the opening range. We're also seeing, and this is a little more of a retail trader side of things, but we are seeing a breakout of this little flag pattern on the smaller time frames. As I'm seeing this happen, I tell myself, hey, I kind of feel like I'm forcing a trade here because SPY is already really high on the day. I already missed the inverse orb, but this is still technically inverse orb. I'm just taking it at a worse price with a much tighter stop loss. So I went ahead and said, okay, call flow is ramping. We're going to enter here. We're going to put our take profit at the high of the day here and our stop loss just below this wick low. So we're still giving ourselves almost a 2.00 risk to reward. If we press play, we can see how it played out. We ended up hitting our take profit perfect. We moved our take profit higher and our stop loss up higher from there. And as you can see, it was a beautiful setup, beautiful entry, beautiful play, beautiful exit here. Everything was perfect, even though it was a little bit forced because we did not get it at the very bottom. This is still an okay entry to take because the 50% retracement of the opening range does play a big part as being a support or resistance. The only difference between this and the other setups that I took is I mostly was taking the other setups down here, but again, we just missed it. We didn't get it, so we waited for a better entry. SPY continued higher, as you can see, which is crazy, but that's why I didn't want to trade SPY. Even though we could have traded ES or SPY and went higher, I wanted to take MNQ or NQ or QQQ, whatever you want to trade on the tech side, because the risk to reward was better and we weren't trading as high, and we also were hitting the 50% retracement of the opening range, which is technically a really good confluence to show more upside and continuation. Friday is where things got a little crazy, but the way we traded again was just spot on. The patience, the discipline, the execution. I'm about to go over it in this video, but just please write this down, take notes, and look at this price action. And if you can trade this way for the rest of your life, if you can just trade the way I was trading on Friday, it is going to help you significantly in your trading game, so let's get into it. Now, Friday was a lot different than the rest of the week. Typically, during the rest of the week, we saw a move down. We played that move down and faked out all of the sellers and continued higher and played the inverse orb strategy. But look at the time we hit the bottom of the orb. It was at 9:38. So at the time, the 15-minute opening range hasn't even been set. And if we look at the Flowtopia platform, we can see that calls actually took a nosedive at open for like the first 10 to 15 minutes. So I was not wanting to take longs just yet. But then I saw the W orb strategy, my only other strategy that I trade outside of the inverse orb, give me an A+ setup for the upside. As you can see, guys, call flow is heavily ramping, which means I'm bullish. Put flow is not really doing much, but call flow is heavily ramping, and we see a 15-minute close to the upside above the opening range. And if you know what my W orb strategy is we wait for a breakout of the opening range with a 15-minute close. We wait for the retest of this range, and then we put our stop loss at the 50% retracement, take profit at the high of the day, and then we go from there. In this instance, we actually did take longs here on ES. So we saw a entry here. We put our take profit level at the high of the day and our stop loss here at the 50% retracement of the opening range. Now, we did hit take profit pretty fast live in front of about 500 people. So that was pretty cool stuff. But I was getting a little greedy and I wanted to let my profits ride higher. So what I did is I actually took off some of my profits there and then moved my stop loss to break even on this trade. And as you can see, we ended up stopping out at break even. We did make some money, so it was fine. But even though we were live in front of all these people, I still decided, hey, champ, I am still seeing an A+ setup. We have a 15-minute close above here, 15-minute close above here. Now we have a retracement back into the opening range at the 50% retracement level, which is a perfect entry for the W orb setup. So with all that being said, what I did is I looked at the bigger picture, saw this look. I saw that we'd probably just grab liquidity below this low here. So they just faked out all of the buyers with this high and they pushed us back below. Most people are now getting into sells, but the most of the good traders like us in the Discord are going to go long here at the 50% retracement level. Our stop loss below the opening range low, take profit at the high of the day. Let's see what happens here. And once again, perfect entry, perfect execution, saw minimal drawdown amount, and it was a perfect exit as well. And that was live in the Discord for free. I didn't charge anybody $1 to watch this. It was completely free. Now, again, you're asking me, what are the confluences behind this trade? Why'd you take it, champ? Even though I've given you all of the directions here, I'll say it one more time in a summarized version. We have a 15-minute close above the opening range on high call flow. Look at the call flow relative to the put flow. Call flow is ramping. Those two things together, we're already looking for a long entry. We see a move back into our 50% retracement level on the 15% opening range. Sorry, 15-minute opening range, not 15% opening range, but you get the point. We're doing a lot of talking here. Take that entry there, stop loss below the low of the opening range, because you know if we go back below that, we're probably going to head lower, and we took profit right at the high of the day. It was a perfect entry, a perfect exit. The entire team was eating, and everybody was pretty happy.